In this lecture, I will be discussing about the features of ARM processor and CPU architecture. That is a block diagram and brief explanation about the CPU architecture of ARM9 processor. Now, ARM processor, it is a RISC processor. That is when you are comparing to the complex instruction set computer. The ARM machine, it is a type of reduced instruction set computer. So ARM processor was the first RISC processor developed for commercial use, and it is capable of performing a small set of instructions, so that is the overall speed of the processor will be going to increase. And the applications where ARM processors are used, some examples are given such as in handheld devices, robotics, automation, consumer electronics. For example, we can find the ARM processors in mobile phones like our Apple phone, BlackBerry, etc., where we use the version ARM11, and also in modems, handycams, etc., we use the ARM processor. So remember that it was the first RISC machine which was introduced for commercial use. Now, before going to the architecture of ARM, let us discuss about the features. So we know that ARM is a reduced instruction set computer. So when we are comparing it to the CISC, it is more competitive, that is easy to develop, cheap, and it is promising in the future. So it is a little more simple and it is more efficient, and also there is reduced power consumption, and these, that is a large register files and the load and store architecture, all of these are features basically of the RISC machine. Okay, so it has got larger register file and it is a load and store architecture. It means that all the data processing is done only in registers. So whatever we are loading and whatever we are storing, so all these operations, that is the fetching of data and storing it back, all this is taking place, all the processing taking place in registers. It is uniform and fixed length instructions in the case of ARM processors. And another thing about the processor speed, usually we specify it in gigahertz, that is the number of cycles that the CPU is going to execute per second. So the speed is also good, and we are having the high core densities in the case of the ARM processors, and also the instruction set which is being supported by the ARM. Commonly in the case of ARM processor we use 32-bit. Okay, we consider 32-bit architecture, that is a common one. So here whatever data in the case of 32-bit we are going to take, we are going to fetch and execute, and all the buses in the case of ARM processor, that is a data bus, control bus, or the address bus, all of them it should be of 32 bits. And the arithmetical and logical unit, it has to perform the operation also of 32 bits. It is to consider the 32 bits. So that is a commonly used ARM processor, that is we consider 32 bits. We can also have in some cases 16-bit thumb instruction sets and also Jazelle instruction set. But this Jazelle instruction set is used only for Java coding. Okay, for Java concepts only we consider Jazelle instruction set in case of ARM processor. So Jazelle provides accelerations of bytecode execution by a Java virtual machine, that is machine doing Java coding. Commonly understand that we do consider the 32-bit architecture in case of ARM. Now understand that we will be referring bits, bytes, etc. in case of execution of instructions. Now just understand the terminology that 8 bits means 1 byte, and 32 bits means 1 word, and half word means 16 bits. Okay, so just understand this, what you mean by bits, what you mean by bytes, and what you mean by word and half word. Now speaking about the ARM processor, there are several versions. Even we are using ARM11 in our mobile phones. Now basically we have to see the features of the ARM9 processors. Now here it is written ARM9 TDMI processor. So what does it stands for? So basically the ARM processor, they are also supporting the debugging architecture. So D basically stands for the debug mechanism. That is, it is supporting, ARM processors are supporting the debugging, both the software and hardware debugging mechanism it is being supported. And the T stands for it's supporting the thumb instruction set. ARMs are supporting the thumb instruction set. D stands for debugging mechanisms or debugging. The M for the multiplier, and I stands for in-circuit emulation. That is, it means that we have got these hardware, that is a processor, which has got the additional ability to support the debugging operations. Okay, so this is ARM9 TDMI. It is supporting the debug architecture. It includes both the hardware and software mechanism, debugging mechanisms, and also it supports bidirectional and unidirectional connection to external memory systems. So in either way, the communication can occur to the external memory system, and also if we want the additional processor, co-processors also we can have together with the ARM processor. And we have a 5-stage pipeline that we will be seeing later about these 5-stage pipeline: fetch, decode, execute, memory and write stages. And another important thing is it is supporting the Harvard architecture. We know that we have got von Neumann and Harvard architecture. So in case of von Neumann architecture, we have got a single place for storing our program memory and our data memory. Whereas in case of Harvard architecture, we have got separate for program memory and data memory. So in case of the embedded system application, such a type of ARM processor is very much suitable. So since we are having Harvard architecture, it is being more organized, and also we have got simple bus interfacing eases, connecting to either a cache memory or a SRAM based memory system. So here we are speaking about the connection to the memory, that is a cache memory or a static RAM memory. And also when we are learning about the bus architecture, we can see that when we see the architecture, it has got simple bus interfaces. So by looking at these features, we must understand one thing, that such a type of ARM processor being very much well organized, and very importantly, since it's following a reduced instruction set, the instructions are very much short, and so it is very much well suitable in the case of embedded system application. Now we have to discuss about the CPU structure, that is basically the CPU architecture of our ARM processor. Now when you are asked for the examination, we have to do this particular block diagram. I will explain, first of all explain the operation with the help of this block diagram, and then we will see each of these components. So here we will be understanding how the data is being manipulated, or how the data flow it is going to occur. So initially we have told in the feature that it is having a load and store architecture. So what do you mean by load? By load we mean that the instruction, it is going to copy the data from the memory to the register. And store we means that the instruction is going to copy the data from the register back to the memory. Okay, so in case of the load operation and store operation, here all the operation is being carried with the help of the register. So it is a load and store architecture, that is only with the help of the register the data is going to be manipulated, and we have no data memories here. So all the load, store operation etc. is performed in the register itself. So the register bank has got a lot of importance. Okay, and see, all these components are very much important. We obviously know that for every processor we will be having arithmetical and logical unit, and then we have got the data in registers for taking the data in, and the final data which is coming out of the data out register. Then the address register, that is mainly used for fetching the next location. So here 0 to 31, here it means that we have got 32 bits. Similarly for data also we have got here 32 bits. And then we have got an incrementer. So after each instruction it fetch, the address will be getting the incremented. And we know the function of the program counter. This PC indicates a program counter. currently holds the address of the instruction being executed. So at each and every point it will be getting the incremented, and here we have got two buses, that is the A bus and the B bus. Okay, so whichever operation say we have to perform, say in the case of addition or multiplication, whichever operation, it has to be split, that is operands has to be split, and we are feeding it to the ALU with the help of two buses, that is say A bus and B bus. So directly one of the data it is going through the A bus to the ALU, whereas the other operand it is not going directly to the ALU. How it is going? It will be going via the barrel shifter. So this barrel shifter, we can call it as a preprocessor application. That is, in the barrel shifter, the data it may be shifted left or right, or it may be rotated. So some operations may be performed prior to reaching the ALU. Okay, so one operand it is directly going via the A bus to the ALU, and another one it is going after some operations only, it is going to the ALU. Through via the barrel shifter only it is reaching the ALU. So then finally, after performing the operations in the ALU, with the help of this bus, again it is going to the data out register, and the data which is to be taken in, it is coming via a data in register. So these are the important blocks which should be present in the CPU architecture of the ARM processor. And in addition to that, we have the instruction decode and control logic, that is prior to the execution of any type of the instruction, it will be decoding the instruction. So before the execution is occurring, okay, carried out itself, there will be decoding of the instruction occurring. So we can see each of these blocks in detail. Now for the time being, we have to learn how to draw this particular figure. That is, understand the operation that there will be two buses, that is A bus and B bus, one which is directly going to the ALU, and other via means of barrel shift only it is going to the ALU, and all these buses are interconnected. That is, we will be having for storing, for getting the output back again, we are having a data out register, and for giving the input we are having a data in register, and also for fetching the address, again we will be having here a ALU bus, that is we should be getting the fetching of the address and also taking the data from the register bank, and finally an instruction decode and a control unit. Now the advantage of such an architecture is obviously the speed of the processor will be high. Why? Because in the working I told that one of the data operand is going via the A bus to the arithmetic logic unit, and other it is going via the barrel shifter, which is acting as a preprocessor. It is doing some operations prior to the actual operation in ALU. Now this arithmetic logic unit and barrel shifter, basically you can consider all these are combinational circuits, and in one machine cycle itself they are going to work. Okay, so it is actually splitting the operation, whichever operation it is being performed, it will be splitting it, and one operand will be in A bus and other one in B bus. So there is a greater speed for executing all these instructions. So the barrel shifter and ALU, they all will be working in one cycle itself, and thus the speed of the processor, in the case of ARM, it is going to be high. So these are the main parts of the ARM processor. First, in the case of register file, a total of 37 registers are there, out of which 6 are status registers and 31 are general purpose registers. Now each of these registers, that is 31 general purpose registers, they are of 32 bits. And then we have booth multiplier, barrel shifter, arithmetic and logical unit, and the control unit. Now we have to learn about certain important points in the register bank. So I told you that there will be total of 37 registers, in which 31 is general, 32-bit registers, and 61 is status register. So at any particular time, a total of 16 general registers and 1 or 2 status registers will be visible to a programmer. And all of the modes, the 16 registers, that is R0 to R15, they will be directly accessible. And register R15, it will be holding the program counter. And in addition, there is a current program status register. It is a 17th register, will also be accessible. So what it will be containing? It will be containing certain code flags, and what will be the current mode bits. It may be thought of as an extension to the program counter. So some status it will be showing. Okay, so it may contain values like Z, S, V and C, that is for zero flag, sign flag, overflow flag or control flag. So it will be showing some particular status. And R14, that is register which is used when a branch and link instruction is being executed. So if there is a subroutine process going on, the R14, it will be having a copy of the register, that is R15. This will occur only if a branch and link instruction is being executed. And in the case of program status register, it may be containing certain flag in case of special operations, and also it will be containing the interrupt bits and what mode currently the processor is working, that is the mode bits, etc. So these are the main things we have to understand about the register bank. And in addition, some special registers like the memory, read, data read and write register will also be included. But however, these points, okay, that is how many total registers are there, out of which how many will be accessible, and what are the special status register, that is a program status registers which will be indicated. So these values and important points we have to remember. Now we have seen that the mode bits are also present in the case of a program status register. Understand that there are 7 types of processor modes. So one is the abort mode. Abort mode, we mean that once the processor it is going to enter the abort mode when there is a failing occurring, that is there is a failed attempt to access the memory. So if there is a problem occurring, it cannot the access memory for taking the data, or it cannot proceed, it enters the abort mode. Fast interrupt request and interrupt request mode. This is going to occur when they are corresponding to the 2 interrupt levels available on the ARM processor. So if there is 2 interrupt level occurring on the ARM processor at a time, then this type of mode occur. Then supervisor mode, it is a mode that is a processor is in after reset, and is generally the mode that an operating system operates in. Okay, so generally this is a mode in which the operating system works, that is after some reset has occurred, it is in a supervisor mode. Then in case of system mode, it is a special version of the user mode that is going to allow the full access, that is you can use the read or write operation access to the CPSR, that is a system mode. Undefined mode, it is when the processor is encoding an instruction which it is not supporting. Okay, that is a not a correct instruction, it is undefined or it is not supported by the implementation, then it is called as undefined mode. User mode, it is used for the user, that is for the user programming, user applications, etc. It is called as a user mode. Now next one, we have seen that obviously there should be arithmetic logical input which has got two 32-bit inputs, that is via A bus and B bus. It is getting 2 inputs. There is no need to again explain this. We have seen detail in the block diagram. While one is coming directly, other one is coming through the shifter. And the ALU output, it will modify the status register flags. Next component is the booth multiplier, that is our multiplier circuit. That is in this case of this multiplier, the inputs are coming from the register file, that is we have seen in the block diagram itself, in the CPU architecture itself. But even though we have shown only one arrow in the figure, it is actually the operation is how it will get 3 32-bit inputs. Now after getting this 3 32-bit input which is coming from the register file, the output, it will be discarding the other bits. It will take only 32 bits. That is, it will be taking only 32 LSB of the product. Okay, so whatever it is getting, it is actually getting the 332-bit input. But after the computation, it will be taking only the 32 least significant bits of the product and discarding the others. Now next one is the barrel shifter. We know that barrel shifter, it has got a 32-bit input to be shifted. Now based upon what is the instruction, that is shift field in the instruction only, it is doing the operation, whether it has to shift logical left or right or rotate, etc. So it will be based upon the shift field in the instruction. And the input we have seen, it will be coming from the register file, or even if immediate operation has to be performed, it also can be supplied to the barrel shifter. It has got the control input coming from the instruction register. So whichever operation we need to perform, the barrel shifter, it will be indicated in the instruction, and the amount by which the register should be shifted is contained in an immediate field in the instruction, or it could be the lower 6 bits of a register in the register file. Okay, so understand these important points about the barrel shifter. And in the CPU architecture, we have seen about where the position of the barrel shifter is, and there we have seen that via this barrel shifter only, one of the input it is going to the arithmetical logical unit. Now next one is the control unit. That is, for any of the microprocessor, a control unit is going to be the heart of the system. So it is responsible for the system operation, and so the control unit design is the most important part in the whole design. Okay, this is going to be a purely combinational circuit, and the timing is also included in the control unit. So in this section, basically we have discussed about the architecture of the ARM processor, all its basic features, etc.